Raging Introvert here. It's been a while since it's been a while since I've posted anything, but it's also been a while since the U.S. Women's World Cup. But if you recall, when the final was won by the U.S., there was a lot of discussion about, the pay gap, and the women were paid much less than the men's teams for winning the World Cup, and how unjust and unfair that was. And I thought, that would be an interesting article to look at. I'm sure with all the news about that, they'll explain why that is, and is it fair or not? Is it right or not? Because the impression that you're left from hearing all these reports and reading them is that it's not fair. So let's see if that's accurate or not. We've got this article here from Fox Business. Of course, everyone likes to say Fox is a right-wing news site, so take that for what you will. U.S. Women's World Cup winnings. Okay, well, this is pretty generic. Isn't that this? At least in the headline, is not saying anything inappropriate was done. Yeah, they win. The winning team is going to get $4 million. Significantly less than the men's winning team. In 2018, the men's team won. The French men's teams won and got $38 million. So 7 times as much. Okay. And it breaks down how much each player on the U.S. winning women's team will get. They win some additional money for each qualifying round. They get a bonus. So all this other nitnoid stuff. They've kind of left this part up here hanging, though. They didn't necessarily say it was wrong. I don't know if I even say they implied it, but I think the implication is just assumed. If someone reads that and goes, well, why would they get so much less? They don't seem to explain it. Sponsorships, victory tour where they can win some more. Okay, here we go. The women's team sued the U.S. Soccer Federation, claiming the organization is engaged in institutionalized gender discrimination. U.S. Soccer rejected the allegations, arguing any difference in pay due to different labor agreements between men and women's teams. According to a report from June, the U.S. women's national soccer team games out-earned the male team from 2016 to 2018. The women's team games generated $50.8 million, and during that same period, the men's team only generated $49.9 million. So, what would that lead you to believe? I asked a couple people, young 20, late teens. The 2 late teens, both female, when I asked them, hey, did you see this? Was there a difference in pay? Yes, there was. Was there a reason for that difference in pay? Not that they could see from this article. Does it seem, after reading this article, that it was inappropriate for the women's team to be paid differently than the men's team? The 2 females said yes, because the female team earned more than the men's team, but they got paid much less. The male, late 20s, or early 20s, who I asked, said basically yes to those as well, but then threw in the caveat, he doesn't care and he doesn't believe anything he reads, and he's sure there's some kind of agenda, so he doesn't believe any of it. While I appreciate the skepticism, everything is true, and yet, as we like to talk about in this channel, everything's skewed to give the reader an impression or a thought that is not actually what is supported by the evidence. Do you see what the little trick they play here is? Up the top, FIFA, the International Football Association, runs international competition. They run like the World Cup, all the different countries playing each other. FIFA pays the winning team $4 million for the women's tournament and pays $38 to the men's team. The numbers down here for revenue generated is for the U.S. Soccer Federation. Just U.S. soccer played within the U.S. and how much money was generated by U.S. teams playing within the U.S. I don't know if you'd want to call it a bait and switch or an apples and oranges comparison, but this is not. This leaves the impression that the women's team earned more than the men's and got paid less by the same organization, when that is not the case. So, let's go and look at what reality says. If we do a quick Google search, what is revenue generated based off of? Ads, and that's based off of viewers. So if you do a quick, how many women or how many people watch the Women's World Cup? Well, we get this. Final beat the Netherlands, drew more than 14 million viewers. Okay. Oh, wait, that's just in the U.S. 14 million U.S. viewers. Okay. Again, we're looking for, not U.S., we're looking at world ratings. How many people watched the Women's Cup versus the Men's Cup? Because that's what FIFA would be judging its stuff off of. The BBC, okay. Women's World Cup, record-breaking numbers. Yes, surpass expectations, smash records, proving we are entering a new era in the women's game. History, blah, blah, blah. Millions watched. Okay. We're not seeing a comparison yet to what the men got, but records broken. 59 million people. Okay. Final. Drew in Dutch TV. I don't care. Fine. Highest TV audience in the country since the 2014 Men's World Cup. Okay, well, that's a comparison within a very small country, within the Netherlands. But we're looking for worldwide. Okay. UK, we don't care about that. The quarterfinal between U.S. and France to 6.1 million in the U.S. I just want to know, worldwide, how many people watched the Women's World Cup? Okay, Women's World Cup attracts record 28.1 million? Is that the total who watched the finale, who watched all of it? It doesn't say. It's not very clear. You should be skeptical. Anytime they're not giving you really like the basic critical information and they're giving you weird little nuggets like this, that should be raising the red flag right away. Number of records have been broken on the pitch. Okay, I don't care about play because that doesn't determine who wins or advertising revenue. If she got 6 consecutive goals or 10, that doesn't affect the revenue for FIFA. So none of this part matters for when it comes to revenue. Prize money, okay, prize money has increased, but still isn't equal to the men's. Okay, so the men's tournament, 400 million, women's tournament, 30 million. That's total prizes for everybody. Maybe we'll explain here why there's a discrepancy. It's still a fraction of the 400 million. Okay, yeah, why? The men's champions took home 38 million. That's more than all 24 women's teams. That's more than all 24 women's teams competed for in 2019. Okay. How many men's teams competed? It doesn't say. It's interesting because if the prize money is shared among all the teams, if there are more men's teams, then you expect it. Now, if you look at this, obviously it's like, 13 times more? There probably aren't 13 times more men's teams competing than women's teams. But they're talking down here about how they're increasing the size of the Women's World Cup to 32 teams, with prize money rising to 60. It would be interesting to see how many men's teams, and I could look it up, but I don't care enough to do that. All I'm saying is if you're going to make a comparison, you should show the information to let the audience draw the conclusion, unless, again, you're trying to hide something, which seems to be the case. We still haven't seen how many people watch the Men's World Cup, which is interesting. We're seeing how there's a discrepancy and how well the women did, but we're not seeing how they compare performance-wise to the men. A lot of social media reaction, that's great, but that doesn't, there's not advertising revenue generated off that, so nobody cares. Oh, wait, way down here, right at the bottom. Ticket sales have been disappointing for some games. Well, that's weird. FIFA said prior to the tournament, 950,000 tickets have been sold. Sold out 20 matches, then said 24 matches were sold out. Reached an important milestone in sales passing 1 million tickets. This says total viewers 1 billion. That sounds pretty good. It's interesting. Tickets allocated, 1.16 million. Net tickets sold, allocated. Why is... Maybe they'll explain why that discrepancy, because that should raise a red flag too. That's a strange word to use. Fans at final. I wonder how many fans were at the final of the men's tournament. That would be another useful feature. How many tickets were sold for the men's World Cup? Ticket sales at least 1.16. This is ticket sales of at least 1.16 million. This doesn't say tickets sold. This says tickets allocated. Attendance was only just short of the record level of 1.35 million set at the 2015 World Cup in Canada. Now that's interesting. It says the 2015 World Cup in Canada. The World Cup for men was in 2018, 2014, and 2010. So this really should say the 2015 Women's World Cup. But when it's left like this, it's ambiguous, and you may think that ticket sales here were close to the Men's World Cup in 2015. But it's not. This is comparing it to the Women's World Cup, but it's unclear. In fact, if you go back up here, yeah, see, here they clarify Women's World Cup. See, that's the title, so you're clear on what they're talking about. But down here, when they want to make it ambiguous, they leave out the women's part. Yeah, okay. All the French host games played in France sold out. No surprise. England's opener against Scotland was billed as close to sold out, but only 13,000 fans. 37% of the stadium was full. Did that happen at the Men's World Cup games at all? That seems unlikely because I know it's a huge sport. Surprisingly, it doesn't say down here. The final did have a full house, and the U.S. captain, who likes to run her mouth, we put on the most incredible show you could ever ask for. Let's Google and see what the Men's World Cup got for viewers. The FIFA World Cup attracted an average of 3.2 billion viewers in 2010 and 2014. Making it the most watched overall live event by average on television worldwide in the 21st century. Now, it's interesting, this wording here, because I suppose that means that maybe there was some event that was bigger in the 20th century, but I'm going to doubt it. This is 2019 now. So in that 19, 20 years, the number of televisions and people with access to television has only grown. And I can't imagine anything bigger than the World Cup as far as worldwide viewers go. So 3.2 billion viewers, the most watched live event on television, versus 1 billion viewers. Now, that means there were a little more than 3 times as many people watching the men's event, and the pay for the men is more than 3 times. But there's probably a bit of a discrepancy when you're talking about how much does it cost for ad time for the most watched event in world history versus one of many events, I'm sure, that have 1 billion worldwide viewers. I don't know what that markup is for having the premier watched event in world history, but I suspect that may be where some of this discrepancy comes from in pay. The men's team is drawing in much more money than the women's games do, and that is why they get paid more. But all the way back to this original article, that's not the message, that's not the truth that's being shown, what's being shown is deceptive to make you think that it's unfair. When potentially, I don't know. None of these articles have actually given me the hard numbers to make the final analysis, because that's not what they want to do. They don't want to tell you the truth. They want to propagandize to you. Thanks for watching. Read carefully and think about everything you see before allowing yourself to be influenced. That's the lesson.